Okay, so let me ask you something. How many times have you looked at your clock during your math block and thought, where did the time go? Yup, you planned the lesson, you felt good about it, but then you walked into your classroom and reality completely hit. The warm up ran a little too long, a student needed extra help, and you couldn't just move on. By the time you transitioned to small groups, someone was tapping you on your shoulder with a question. You glanced at the clock and realized you only had 5 minutes left to teach. And at the end of it all, you're left thinking, I just don't have enough time to do this well. So check it out. I hear this from teachers all the time, and I've been there as well. And I want to say something right now that might actually surprise you. You're not wrong. Time is tight when you're expected to reach every single learner within a given window. That pressure is real, y'all. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise, okay? But here's what I've noticed after more than 20 years working in education. Time problems and structure problems sometimes look identical, and you have to determine which one you have. So, in today's episode, we're talking about the real reason your math block feels so rushed, and it's probably not what you think. So, let's get into it. Welcome to Teaching Math Made Easy. Here we share practical ideas to help your students learn and tips to help you feel more confident teaching elementary math. Welcome back. So today we're diving into a framework for your math block. When I was teaching, I learned I was spending my energy trying to solve what I thought was a time problem, when in reality, I just needed a flexible structure. Think about what a math block looks like without any clear structure whatsoever. You start whole group instruction, but you're not quite sure when to wrap it up. So your lesson runs over by 10, 15 minutes. Then the transition to centers takes way more time than it should because students aren't entirely sure what they're supposed to do. So you've directed a few students who wandered to the wrong station, and now that everyone is settled, you have only 10 minutes to work with your teacher-led small group. The time you were supposed to use to actually work with students who need you has shrunken before it even started. Does any of this sound familiar? Those lost minutes matter because they add up. And unfortunately, you cannot create more time. We know that, right? But you absolutely can create a structure that makes the time you already have work harder for you and your students. When your math block has a clear, predictable structure, one that you understand deeply and your students understand too, everything starts to move faster. Transitions tighten up, students settle in without you having to manage every single step, and you stop losing those precious minutes to the in-between moments. And the result? You begin to feel like you have more time, not because you really got more, but because you stop losing it. So let me walk you through a 4-part framework that I like to call the math block flow. I've seen it work in real third grade classrooms. Each part has a clear job, and when you put them together, your math block starts to feel like something you're running instead of something that's running you. The first element of the math block flow is the warm-up. This is how you open math every single day. It's short. We're talking about 5 to 10 minutes, and it's very intentional. This is where flexibility comes in. You can use this time to either review previously taught skills or preview new ones. If you're using this time to quickly review skills, you might lead a number sense routine or provide a problem of the day. If you're using this time to briefly preview new skills in order to activate prior knowledge and build background knowledge right from the start, you might use a graphic organizer to record what students already know. The key here is routine. When your warm-up activities have a predictable structure that students become familiar with, they are ready to get started. That alone can save you 5 minutes every single day. Now, multiply that across a full week, and you've found 25 minutes you didn't know you even had. So keep those warm-ups short and focused. The second element of the math block flow is whole group instruction. This is where you introduce or revisit the day's concept with your entire class. It should be focused and purposeful. You're giving every student access to the core instruction through modeling and guided practice. This is also not to be confused with the time of the block when only the teacher talks. Yes, you will be modeling, but there should be a time for students to actively engage during whole group instruction as well, whether they are answering questions, talking with a partner, or working on a task together. One structural move that saves a lot of time here is to be intentional about how you close whole group. Practice moving from whole group to small group instruction until the transition is perfected to prevent any future chaos during that handoff moment. All right? So the third element of the math block flow is math centers, which includes both the teacher-led small groups and independent math activities. This is part of the block that trips up most teachers because there are so many moving parts. This is where a clear structure is essential for success. So while you're meeting with a small group, the rest of your class needs something meaningful and independent to do, not busy work at all. Not something that sends students over to interrupt you like every 5 minutes. We're talking about purposeful practice and easily accessible activities that reinforce previously taught skills so students understand how to do them on their own because you've already taught that routine, all right? So when students know exactly what they're supposed to do, where to find their materials, and what to do if they get stuck without asking you, your small group time becomes protected time. You stop getting interrupted, you stop losing your train of thought, and the students sitting in front of you get all of you, not the distracted version of you that's also managing your entire class. You get what I'm saying, right? So speaking of teacher-led small groups, it's also helpful to have an effective lesson structure when you are facilitating your targeted small groups so you stay on track and give students what they need. So the fourth element of the math block flow is reflection. This is the closing routine of your math block, and it is the most underused part of the entire framework. Even just 3 to 5 minutes at the end of math time, having students share what they learned, respond to a quick prompt, or reflect on their thinking does something really, really powerful. This time of the block reinforces learning. It gives you informal assessment data without any extra prep and signals to students that their thinking matters and that they're expected to be aware of their own learning. So just to recap, the 4 elements of the math block flow, they are the warm-up, whole group instruction, teacher-led small groups with independent math activities, and reflection. Each one has a job, and each one can be structured in a way to make your math block flow smoothly. Here's what I want you to sit with today. When your math block has a clear structure, something shifts, and it's not just about teaching within time frames, not at all. It's about what becomes possible for you and your students. You stop spending your energy managing transitions and redirecting students who don't know what they're supposed to be doing. You stop second guessing how long to spend on each part. You stop feeling like the math block is something that happens to you. When you stop worrying about lost minutes, you have more of yourself available for the actual teaching, all right? For noticing the student who's quietly struggling, for asking the question that pushes someone's thinking forward, for doing the part of this work that made you want to be a teacher in the first place. Structure is not the enemy of creativity or flexibility. It's what makes those things possible. And now you have a framework to work from. If today's episode resonated with you and you're ready to go deeper, not just with your math block routines, but with actually differentiating instruction and running small groups with confidence, I want to invite you to check out the Elementary Math Fam. It's my membership for third grade teachers who want practical resources and support to make math instruction feel more manageable. Inside, you'll find targeted small group lessons, meaningful activities, skills-based assessments, and a community of teachers who get it. The link is inside the show notes. Thanks for joining me today. If you like this episode, hit subscribe so we can catch up next week. Until next time, keep teaching math with confidence because you've got this.